For the longest time, one of the biggest questions gamers have asked developers is, why is there no solo mode in your game? Apex Legends faces this conundrum every couple of months, I'd say. The big storm on Twitter starts to swirl, and people come out with the comments as in, why has it taken so long for this game to not have a solos mode? In fact, that's false. This game has had a solos mode, and it has gone away due to a negative user experience. But what is that experience? Why do they not add it? Is it really that bad, or are the developers somehow wrong again? Let's find out, because today I asked you guys on Twitter what you think is the reason solos aren't in Apex, and I want to go through some of these answers. All right, so I will give you the answer as to why solos modes do not exist as almost standard practice in multiplayer games today. However, in order to do that and to go through this video, please leave a like on it, show some support. Let's get into it. So today we started off with the question, why do you honestly believe solos are not a permanent game mode in Apex Legends? I want to hear your beliefs, and I may use some of these answers in a video, so thank you to everyone who responded. I want to go through some interesting ones here. The main reason, this is by Train Chan, the main reason why is because of teaming. Let's be real here. Solo Apex, when it was an LTM, was just teaming for damage farming. Plus, it just doesn't fit Apex, in my opinion. But I would love a 4-player squad mode. The idea of teaming is an interesting one. It is very far away from the answer as to why games do not put in solo modes. And you can kind of go through this logic yourself, partially because you can't stop teaming from a 3-man squad. Although I know it does access teaming a little easier because you only have one player who has to team with another. The truth is that most people don't team. That's not the goal. And so it wouldn't be enough of a negative player experience to, I think, impact the entire group of people playing Apex Legends. It is an interesting idea, but it is not why developers do not put it in their games. Okay, so this is an interesting one. I strongly believe Respawn has been working on a dedicated solos mode that plays different than regular Apex with more than likely modified legend abilities. Just slapping on regular solos without balancing the legends accordingly is asinine in my opinion. I really like this thought process as well. I think Apex Legends definitely struggles from having a game built around a group identity, such as 3 or 2 people using abilities together to synergize well, and then going into solos. When we did see solos come into play for a variety of modes where it's been a part of Apex Legends, we've seen Pathfinders, Octanes, Lifelines. We saw pretty much a strong meta emerge of the best solo legends, and playing someone maybe like a Watson who was not really dynamic enough as a solo player but amazing in a team composition really kind of hurt the legend diversity. And so this is the argument that they're making. Legend diversity would go away. You wouldn't really experience the game. Although this is true, this is not the reason why. This is also a true component, however, but it is false. Did I just say it was true and false? Okay, listen. The essence is true, but it is not the reason why. So yes, you're right, but not the answer that we're looking for here. I feel like a teacher in class. This actually is also brought up by my friend Stuart Imblore. He's an editor, works with Nicewig. He's worked with me for a long time. He says, pretty sure it's because the overall feel of the game is helping your teammates out with different abilities. For instance, why play Lifeline in solos if you have no teammates to revive? Why use ult that denies space for one enemy? So again, this is that kind of idea that a lot of the Legends utility is built around being a part of a team, and you can literally have abilities that do not make sense for Apex Legends if they don't use it with someone else. So if they're just by themselves, Lifeline loses a huge part of her kit. This is a big reason. It's not the only reason, but it is a big reason, and so you guys are definitely right, but it is not it's not where the buck stops as to why they're not doing it. Good tweet, though. Essentially, there's a lot of comments mirroring those two, which is that if you have certain legends, they will lose their value in a solo meta. And that's true. That's definitely true. Not the full answer, not really the main answer, but very true. Oh, Keith Gringo. Okay, I think it would fracture the player base and make regular games take longer to queue up. On top of certain characters excelling at engagements, it wouldn't be very balanced. I remember back when they first had the LTM of solos, it was a Pathfinder fest. This is a huge point Keith Gringo makes, and it's something very important to realize is that when you add another queue or another option for players, when they log on, they jump on their Xbox, their PS5, if you're lucky to have one of those. I don't even have one. Your PC or wherever you play Apex Legends, you have to choose one of several queues out right now. But remember that, say there's 100,000 players playing at the time. If you split that queue between 3, let's say at most you have 33,000 players in each. So you're not accessing 100,000, that full kind of matchmaking system. Now, why does this matter? Because the smaller your group of people are, the harder it is to get balanced games for each group of people, and the harder it is to put them into games quickly. And so the matchmaker has to decide, do I take a long time to get this person the perfect game, or do I take a quick amount of time to get them in a game and it's unbalanced in terms of skill? This is the common question. The answer is pretty clear, though. You have to put people into a game. If you let them wait for too long, like over 15 minutes, they essentially exit out and they don't play and they don't come back playing at all. They have very low retention after that long wait time because it just makes the game feel like it's dead. Here's a perfect example. Apex used to make limited time modes where you would actually go to a new queue up for that mode, or queue up for the regular game. And that would split the player base with people who want to play normally and people who want to play the new stuff. And it would make it harder to matchmake and get fast and balanced matches in each of those modes. What they've started to do is actually incorporate the new LTM as a takeover so that essentially you play the normal game, but the normal game changes for a couple of weeks. So everyone gets to experience it. Everyone is match made in the same pool, and you can get even and faster matches. So this is definitely something that is a big component of why solos are not added. It's not the full reason, but however, this is something that's very important for educated gamers to understand. This is one big reason why solos are hard to implement into a game, especially games that don't have as big a population as Apex Legends. So a lot of you had really good and intelligent comments. You haven't gotten the perfect or the correct answer fully, but you've gotten very close with some things that have an impact. But there were also some that did not have very intelligent answers. Let's get into those. Raincube says, I think because it will counter the EOMM evil algorithm. No more matching with bad teammates, so skilled solo players can score a lot of wins, kills, which will hasten the gameplay gratification, instead of making everyone grind endlessly for the satisfactory win after many losses. Wow, lots to unpack there. If you don't know what EOMM is, it's basically engagement optimized matchmaking, trying to make people lose and win a certain amount in order to stay most engaged in a game. Not giving them fair results, but giving them results that would actually gear them to get the right amount of frustrated and happy to want to keep playing. This is something they tested in FIFA. There's no application for what this looks like, and I don't even believe this has been applied to any Battle Royale setting at all. So a lot of people use the EOMM algorithm conversation inaccurately. It's usually for one-on-one games, and that is how I have seen in research it's been proven yet. Someone can link me new information, but I don't think it has been a part of Apex Legends. Secondly, this is a weird assumption that the majority of people who would experience solos would win. In fact, your odds of winning a solo is much lower than actually winning just a normal game. So unless you're literally the best player in that lobby, you're probably not going to win that solo game. So no, this is incorrect in a lot of different ways, because you would still be grinding for those losses, and the people that you think would not be on your team that are bad would be replaced by people who are just as good as you or equally better. And so you would have the same level of difficulty. Only the top minority of high-level pros would probably win more often as solos than not. Otherwise, the majority of people would probably win much less of the time. Because Apex devs refuse to fix public matchmaking, so good players get bad teammates and fry their mental and keep playing the game again and again, assuming that we get better, but ghost the fact that the RNG and team filling is damn well rigged. I don't even know what that means. Oh, here's actually a really interesting misconception. Because matchmaking is already rough enough, imagine if thousands of people were queuing for solos. You'd have to throw golds in with preds, lol. This is actually really interesting because matchmaking typically suffers from the opposite. Having bad players have to get grouped with really good players, yet it not really translating to the way the game is played. For instance, if you are a Predator and I am a gold and we have another gold on my team, your 4,000 MMR, which is matchmaking rating, how the system would view you as the highest, 4,000 out of 4,000, we might be 1,800 and 1,800, but you know, we all might average out to around like a 3,000, like a pretty good player. However, if we go up against a team of 3,2800s, chances are they'll beat us, because unless our 4,000 MMR player kills all three of them, it's going to be 1v1s that in two of those instances put a 2800 MMR player against an 1800 MMR player. So it does actually make it a little bit more difficult to matchmake as a group because the system tries to find the overall rating of your team, but unless you're actually perfectly optimized in how you're working together and you're not playing as individuals, you're communicating, it's very hard to get those results playing out the way that it tries to find the averages that make a balanced lobby. So yeah, that's an interesting conversation. Hopefully you guys learned something from that. All right, so we've seen some good ones, some bad ones, and some unusual ones, but I've got my favorite answer coming up here. Is it correct, though? Because ultimately, I think this may be the wisest answer in the thread. Not really an answer, but I think it teaches lone wolfing in life is not optimal. In this individualistic culture, we forget about the community, that our actions affect others. With no solo mode, the mechanics of the game remind us that a team that works together wins. And I honestly do want to shout out the Bronzebeard because I think this is the most rain day answer of all. But I know you guys are done. Listen, this thread is going to be linked in the comment section below, and you can see all of the replies. It was very interesting, but pretty much no one had the exact answer of why it is. And this goes to show two things. One, that the gaming industry and gamers, or maybe the vocal minority, assuming that they are the minority and not the majority, are usually uninformed, or at least partially uninformed as to the main reasons of the decisions being made about their games. This means it's very hard to communicate from someone who has information, like a developer, to people in the audience because they don't have all of it. Because I've asked, and you guys have not given the correct answer. So I just have to say that the majority of people who spoke either were uninformed or they just believe something that they were told to be true without really knowing that it is true. I also would be uninformed, but I mean, you know, at least they'd have a reason for it. The real reason solos are not in Battle Royale games is due to an interesting story I came around when I was covering and playing, casting, and being friends with the lead designer of Royale, a Battle Royale from Hi-Rez Studios. You can check out my YouTube channel. I've got plenty of games around it, and this game actually implemented a solos mode, a duos, a trios, and a squads. During the early parts of this game, it got really big. Ninja started playing it. It really became kind of a cult Battle Royale hit, and we thought this was going to be the next big BR. A lot of things happened. I'm not going to get into that story today, but it did not go as planned. But one thing we did learn as we were testing out which modes that were successful, that kept people coming back, was that squads retained more so than any other mode. For whatever reason, squads kept people coming back and playing. And by retention, I mean this. When you play this game, do you come back and play it again within the next 7 days? A pretty common metric for retention. Also, do you come back and play it within the month? How many times do you play it? Lastly, do you never play after playing a mode? For instance, if you have an experience in squads, does that cause people to quit? The retention was good there. But you know what was different? In solos, the retention was the by far worst out of any other mode that they did. Not only were people not coming back, they were playing less, and they were quitting when they did put the game down. As in, they were not coming back ever. They weren't coming back within a week, and they were playing for less amount of time. The question is, why is that? Why do solos make people quit BR games? Ultimately, that might be for another video. I think it's got to do with the fact that a lot of people get exposed in solos. I think they kind of idealize the fact that they don't have to count on anyone and no one can screw them up, and they kind of make a lot of excuses. Ultimately, I do it too, but gamers tend to make excuses as to why they lost because of stuff they can't control. And when you get into solos, you really just have to face yourself and anybody else. You can put it in the true pecking order of life. You go out there and you say, am I better than all other 59 other players in here? I have no one else to blame except myself, my decisions, my gun skill. And most people aren't really happy with that result. But can you blame them? I mean, if you're a father of 3 or a mother or a single friend of yours who's going to log on to play with another friend just to relax and have a good time, do you want to come home, sweat nonstop, and like if you lose, just feel bad about yourself? I think solos ultimately challenges our psyche as gamers, that maybe we're not as good as we think we are. Or maybe when we really stack our skills up against somebody else, it's not what we would like. And most people don't want to put in the actual hours, the journey, the training to get to a place where they would win all those solo games. So for me, I believe a vocal minority ends up having a really good experience. And I think the majority of people end up realizing that It's too stressful. They don't get any value from it. They no longer are able to win because they're not skilled enough to win without a group or a team. And ultimately, it's not good for retention, and the game loses players, and by that fact, loses popularity and money and all the things that the game looks for. So that's the real answer as to why solos, I believe, is not added in Apex Legends. And if it does come, it'll probably come in the form of an LTM. It'll probably come in the form of something limited, just to give players who are vocally and loud and socially talking about it something to chew on. But as far as a mode, it's very clear that yes, Apex was balanced for a team. Yes, Apex has a lot going on for it, and characters would not get the same level of value. But ultimately, solos just does not keep people playing. And that is the simple fact. If you guys want to know more stuff like this, learn answers to some of gaming's hardest questions, leave a like on the video and subscribe to my channel, Rain Day Gaming, where we can have more thoughtful conversations about it. Oh, and share this to a friend if they want to ask the same question. Why are solos not in Warzone or in Apex or blah, blah, blah? This is 9 times out of 10 the answer why. Because when they add them, people quit their game. That's all I got to say. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Remember to never give up, never stop gaming, and I'll see you all next time.